Welcome back to Phillips Hot Rod Garage. Alright guys, in this video we are back on the frame jig. Alright, so the plan for this video is to get these pieces made. I just cut this one. I got 5 more to cut. And then we've got to make a couple of pieces to go right here on the front. And then we're going to get this body stuck back onto the frame. And then when we get all these pieces made and the body back on the frame, we're going to square the rails up with the jig. And then we're going to be ready to start frame fabrication. All right, now that these pieces are ready, we can go ahead and get started on making 2 more cross braces. I'm gonna make one to go right in this area here, and I'm gonna make one to go right here across the back. Once we get those pieces done, we'll get started on the parts that go up here on the front, and then we're gonna be ready to put the body on. So let's get some cross braces made. Alright, so this is just an extra one, just in case we need it for when we start fabricating. So I'm not going to weld it on right now because I don't know if we actually are going to use it. Well, I need to take some pressure off of the frame rails here. That ought to help. Okay, so that one's ready, just in case we need it. I'm going to go ahead and make the front pieces now, and then we'll be ready for the body. All right, so let's get this piece of angle off of here. All right, so all I'm trying to do right now is just get these frame rails centered so I can design some pieces. And really, I guess they don't even have to be centered right now. But I want to get them pretty close to center anyway, just for the sake of being thorough. All right, they need to move over about 1/8 of an inch. So. Okay. (15 7/8). Close enough. It's about 1/16 off. That's good enough for what we got to do right this second. All right, so my original plan was to make a plate that would bolt right here, come down, and weld right here to this piece. But after thinking about it a little bit more, I think I've got a better plan. This diagram shows that the frame should be 2 inches from the level right here of the bottom of the rails, 2 inches up. So if it just needs to go 2 inches and that's it, this right here will work perfect. This right here, 2-inch square tubing. Yeah, I can just put that right across there, right up under the frame. That's the perfect 2 inches. that'll work. Oh yeah, I think that'll do it. So I got a couple of clamps at the back here. I think I want to put some right here. This will help me hold everything in place. This is going to pull the frame rails down a little bit to let me make sure that we're going to be at that 2-inch mark we need to be at the front. All right, so let's take a look here at the front and see how things are looking. It looks pretty good. We can definitely work with that. Same on this side. Looks pretty good. So I can very easily set the position of the frame rail where I need it to be and just put a tack weld on this just to hold it during the fabrication process. So I think that's going to be good enough for the front right here. All right, everything's looking really good. The way I decided to do that front, I think is going to be a better option than my first plan. So I think that's going to work out well. We've got 2 points of attachment right here that we've already established. We got 1 point of attachment right here that is not welded in place. So it's going to be a floater. We can move it during the fabrication process to put that wherever we need it. But what I'm going to need right now is I'm going to need one to go right across the back right here, because the rear of these rails are moving around quite a bit. So we need to get these locked down in place. And then that's it for bracing. We're ready to put the body on after that and establish some final measurements and get this frame tacked down. So let's get this piece done. We're gonna put on the body. You know, I might get lucky. This piece right here might work. Looks like the length will be close enough. Let's try it. I think that's close enough, guys. Close enough. All right, so I really don't know exactly what we're going to do back here yet until after we put the body on, but maybe some simple pieces of angle welded down like this will work fine. Doesn't have to be anything extravagant back here at the back, just something to steady it, that's all. So this is probably what we'll end up using right here. All right, so I'm back out here on another beautiful South Alabama Saturday morning, and I got my laser here set up so I can shoot a line down this jig. All right, so I went ahead off camera and got my measurements correct. Got my laser line centered from front to back. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and take a silver Sharpie right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna follow this laser line with this silver Sharpie on every one of these. Put myself a good, nice mark there so I'll have something to go by for getting my rails centered. So let's get that done real quick, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, so that looks pretty good now. So let's get the lights on, get the doors up. And get ready to put this body on. So here's a little look at the marks that I made. I got them all marked except for this one. And I skipped this one because this is the one that I said would be the floater. I don't know exactly where that one's gonna be positioned in the jig yet. So I decided not to mark it because I have not actually centered this piece on the jig. It's just kind of sitting in place. I may end up having to move that one to right up in this area. This is where the front of the firewall will be. And I may end up having to have that cross piece right here, because this is the area where we're going to actually be bending the rails out when we pinch the frame. So that's that for that. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and move some stuff around so I got a little more room to work. I think I'm going to pull this boat outside for a few minutes. All right, let's get it. All right. All right, so it's time to take some final measurements now. We're gonna make sure the rails are good and square. We need them good and square, and we need some good measurements on them before the body goes on. That way, once we get the body up here, we'll be able to see which way we're gonna move the rails and how far we're gonna have to move them to get them sitting like we want them on the body. So let's go ahead and take some final measurements, get these things good and square on the jig, make sure they're clamped down tight, and then the body's going on. So let's get some measurements done. Here we go. All right, so 35 1/8. Half of that would be 17 9/16. I better double check that measurement. Yeah, that's right. I never professed to be a mathematician. All right, we're pretty close, so let's go ahead and get the body. Well, it looks like we might get a little rain. Here's some thunder over there in the distance. I better hurry up so I can get this boat back inside. Today's not the day we're getting it wet. So I put this tire in there to add a little weight to it. Because when I put this hole in this piece of angle iron and made all this tubing, I didn't have the rear subrails in it. I didn't have the trunk lid on it. There was a lot of weight that was not on the back. All right, guys, that was a lot of work, but I got it. The body is back up on the frame rails, so now we can figure out exactly how we want the body to fit, and then figure out what we got to do with these rails to get them positioned like we want them. So what we're going to do is show you a couple of things that we got coming up in the next few videos and show you kind of the direction that we are headed. So let's take a look at a couple of things. Hadn't started raining yet, but it's coming. All right, so I got the body flush with the frame rails right here at the front. But this frame's got to come out right here to be flush with the body right here, because I want the frame rail and the cowl side here to be flush with each other on both sides. So that's why we got to pinch the frame. The frame's got to come out right here and it's got to go in right here, so this is all flush. Now what you'll notice here is that the body actually sticks out here because of the way that the body's made from this surface. So this surface here will be flush with the frame, but this is going to stick out. So the distance that this sticks out from here down to the rail will be the same distance I set the rails in from the quarter panel at the back, which is right here. The distance that this is from the quarter into the frame rail will be the same distance that it's in from the frame rail to this right here. That way the frame rail and the car are even all the way down. And there it is, there's the rain. So I had to move quick and get this boat back in. It did end up getting wet today. So here's one of the major decisions that I've got to make. Right here we've got a gap. Pretty good size gap, probably about a 1/2 inch between the body and the frame. The body's got to come down a 1/2 inch to get rid of this gap. Now the reason this gap's here is because the body of course is touching right here at the front. And the reason that is because the frame is completely flat till it gets about to right in this area somewhere, and then the frame turns up. Okay, Model A frame's flat, 32 frames got this kick up in it. All right, so there's a couple of options. One, I can narrow the rails up. I can move the frame rail in some and let the cowl right here come down over the frame until it closes this gap up right here. I could do that, then the frame and the cowl wouldn't be flush. Frame would stick in just a little bit, but the cowl would sit down over it. I've seen that done. Or we can do this right here. We can start from here and make a cut. It's even with the rail, just like that. Cut the cowl up. Take this material off. Then we'll of course have to weld a new lip on the bottom of the cowl right here. But that would let us drop the entire body down to get rid of this gap right here. I'm leaning toward doing that. I think that's a pretty good idea, but then again, narrowing the frame rails up and dropping the cowl down, letting it just hang down over it a little bit right in this area would give it like a slight, maybe a 1/2 inch channeled look. That might work too. So I've got to decide this before I can move on with the rails, because what I do here is going to determine where the rail has to sit, whether it sits flush with the car here or whether it's tucked in just a little bit more. So I've even seen companies that are making frames for these Model A's that are prefab that are coming in here and they're cutting the frame off right here and notching it right here, dropping this lip of the frame down so the body can just sit down on there. I don't know that I like the look of it with the frame coming back and having the notch. I think I'd rather have the cowl to be cut up. I don't know. That's a decision that I have to make. So let me show you something else we got to do. All right, so here's the next big decision that I've got to make. This all comes down to whether or not I decide to use the 32 gas tank, or if I decide just to put a gas tank up in the trunk of this car. This is where the wheel well is going to go, right here. Just going to use this tape to get a good idea of where it's going. All right, this is cut off so I can work on the car, but this is not going to stay this way. When I put in new wheel wells, they'll come all the way down to this line right here. Here's the problem. The frame is sticking down too far back here. Now, this is probably going to work okay if I use the 32 tank. With a 32 tank, you'll take the cross member right here off, and the rail, I'll weld the piece back on that goes here. I have it somewhere. Let me grab it. This piece, it'll go through the body, like right through here. Just gonna take this off. Just like that. But this won't be here. This will tuck up a little bit higher, like that. Because if you leave it on a Model A down this low, and you put a 32 tank on, the gas tank looks like it's too close to the ground. So they usually pull this off so it'll go up a little bit higher. All right, so if I'm gonna put a 32 tank on it and take this off, then I probably don't need to modify this frame rail right now. But if I'm not gonna use a 32 tank and I'm gonna put a tank in the trunk of the car, which was my first plan, that's why I cut the rails off, then I'm gonna have to cut this frame up in here somewhere, push this up so that the bottom here does not stick down below this tape line. Now I've got plenty of room for that to happen. Now sometimes I've seen people, you know, in photos online to where what they will do is they'll move this, cut it up in here somewhere, move this up as far as it'll go to get a consistent gap here, and then they come down here and cut a little bit off the bottom of the frame right here so it doesn't stick down. You just don't want this to be seen. Of course, with the wheel well in there, you won't see anything up here anyway. All you're gonna see is just the frame turn up inside, and then you don't wanna see anything back here. So that's the next big decision that I've got to make. Got to decide what to do with the firewall, and I've got to decide for sure 100% if I'm gonna use a gas tank in the trunk or if I'm gonna use a 32 tank on the back, which either way works. Just got to make up my mind which way I want to go. So leave me a comment on that. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about the cowl. Let me know what you think about the 32 tank or the tank in the trunk. So that's it for this video, guys. In the next one, we are going to pinch the frame. You're not going to want to miss that one. See you guys in the next one.